All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all having a great Thursday. I appreciate your time today, and we'll get started. And I'll share my screen, and we'll work through the UKG dimensions implementation slide deck here to get you ready for go live. So our contents will stretch for about 45 to 50 minutes today. If you have questions along the way, feel free to add them into the chat. I've asked Jessica on my team to answer those as best as she can. And then if there are any outstanding questions, we'll do our best to follow up at the end of the session and also give time for other questions or comments that you have that we need to address for your specific market. So a little overview of what we'll focus on today within UKG as a leader. The home page and data views, areas where you navigate to and access the system. The control center, which is where you'll receive notifications on different things going on with your workforce, and then getting ready for a payroll, processing time cards, approving them, resolving any errors or issues with the time cards to make sure they're accurate. So this is our second of two sessions this week for leadership training. I shared with the whole group the recording as well as all of the training materials after our first session on Tuesday. But if anything else comes out of this meeting that I need to add, I'll certainly follow up with the whole group as well. So right now, our plan is to go live with UKG Dimensions on August 27th. That is a Sunday, this upcoming Sunday. We do that to coincide with the beginning of a new pay period. We can't run two separate payrolls with two different systems. We need to finish up on August 26th in Nova time and then transition over to UKG Dimensions right after that. We will have leadership calls beginning next Monday. These will be to address any issues that you're having. They're optional to join. You can join and listen in, or if you have a specific issue, you can join the call and ask that question, or you can just follow up with us via email, myself or Jessica, or the payroll inbox is also there for you to address any of those questions to us, and we'll resolve them as soon as possible. We'll also start to use some of those daily leader calls just to optimize some things that you might be wanting to do from a reporting standpoint or other ways to navigate the system the best and most efficient way. On August 28th, when you return after the weekend, that will be a payroll Monday, so you will be approving time cards using Nova Time on that day. That'll be our last Nova Time based payroll for September 1st, and then we'll move on to UKG Dimensions after that for your timekeeping. So just a reminder on what we want all of our leaders to do. We want accurate and timely time cards submitted and approved by noon Central Time on payroll Mondays. That's the Mondays in which we're running payroll. UKG Dimensions does give us some great opportunities to add additional functionality, some better reporting that'll help us quickly let us know who has exceptions. Exceptions on time cards are things like missed punches and unapproved time cards. We'll be getting that to you on payroll Monday morning so that you're aware of and can quickly resolve those. But I think within the dashboard, you'll also find it very easy to access and address those issues in real time. After payroll Monday morning, we really need to move forward with payroll, processing it and making sure that we're accurate. And so additional corrections that come after that are really ones that need to be done through the payroll correction form and submitted for the next payroll. Those would be processed on the following payroll. That makes sure that we have enough time to process an accurate and timely payroll for that upcoming Friday. When we have a lot of things coming at us, it can make for a confusing process, and so we want to make sure we're as accurate as possible. So the best thing we could do is make sure that all of us are reviewing and approving our time cards, making sure they're accurate on payroll Monday morning. Reminder, this doesn't impact our relationship with Paylocity at all. Paylocity is still our HR information system for payroll and HR. It is just taking the place of timekeeping at this point from Novatime to UKG Dimensions. Team members at this point have received my formal communication as well as a litmus assignment. With that litmus assignment, I will share those materials that were in the litmus assignment, brief instructions on how to clock in and out if you're an hourly team member, how to request time off, how to sign in and access UKG Dimensions. Those materials will be shared tomorrow as well, so that it's top of mind and top of the inbox in advance of Sunday's go live. For leaders, in addition, like I said, to the training this week and the materials that we've set up through Leadership Connect on Microsoft Teams, we also have those implementation calls next week to help to address any issues that you're having, troubleshooting those in real time. IT will be putting this tile is already ready to go. We just need to press the button and put it up into Okta. The UKG tile will be accessible through Okta. It's single sign-on, which allows us to access it directly from the My Apps area, and it doesn't require another set of credentials anymore to log in. Time clocks are Novatime property, and they are obsolete effective August 27th. So team members shouldn't be using those after August 26th. They should be using work devices like computers or tablets in the clinics or in the departments with which to clock in and out and access UKG Dimensions beginning August 27th. I do have this flyer here, and I did share this through our Microsoft Teams Leadership Connect, and I believe email as well. So it is available to you to print and put over those time clocks. IT will also be deactivating them so they won't register time at all after August 26th. But the more you can do to get those time clocks labeled with a flyer above it or on top of it for this weekend, the better, so that team members know they need to be directed to UKG Dimensions. So real quick focus on what we'll look at today. From a scheduling perspective, your responsibility is to manage requests for time off, PTO requests, that sort of thing. Other scheduling functions that are available within UKG Dimensions are coming. We will be transitioning QGenda to UKG Dimensions for scheduling. It's called UKG Dimensions Advanced Scheduler. So that will be, we'll work on implementing that as soon as we're done implementing timekeeping. So these additional responsibilities will all eventually sit in the same place, where timekeeping and scheduling will be a one-stop shop for you, and that will add a lot of extra functionality for you to hopefully make your job a little bit easier. So in addition to those scheduling duties, the timekeeping duties are where we'll spend a lot of our time as well. How to access and review time cards and hours and alerts that have team member information in them. We'll sort of focus on UKG provided us with this training, and they'll focus on this fictitious. I'm assuming he's fictitious. Maybe there's a real Michael Martin out there somewhere, but Michael Martin will be our manager that will be helping us complete tasks today. And what we'll do is I'm going to put this in the chat really quick so that y'all have access to this link. I'm calling this our sandbox link. So it's a really user friendly training tool, and it's also a reference tool for you. So use the link. The link will always work for us, and what it allows you to do is click on different tasks, and it shows you directly, like the point and click of how to complete that task, approving time cards, approving and reviewing time request time off, how to review and edit time cards themselves. So all of those tasks are in that particular portal that I just sent you. You don't need to log in to access it, and it will give you that step-by-step guide. Most of the presentation today will just be screenshots, and I'll talk through exactly how they work. But with each lesson, I'll stop sharing the presentation and we'll go to that link and we'll click through and I'll show you exactly how to do the point and click to navigate within UKG Dimensions to complete these tasks. Okay, so the first things I wanted you to know, I know yeah, these are for hourly team members, but it's good to know exactly what your team members are going to be doing. So after logging into UKG Dimensions via Okta, the punch tile is going to be right there for team members to use, and there's going to be a punch button. The punch button will allow them to successfully submit their time. When they click the punch button, it will note that it's been successfully submitted. They'll receive that confirmation. And in addition, they'll have a last punch date here up at the top as well. So that will help them know the last time they clocked in and out. Maybe sometimes people forget whether they clocked in this morning. So they can always log into UKG Dimensions and see what their last punch was. All right, transferring time. So the big thing with UKG Dimensions and not having time clocks is that when a team member clocks in and out on a computer or work device, it's not tied to any particular location. It doesn't know what clinic or department the person is in. And so what it's going to default is to that team member's home department. If their home department is A, but for today they're working in clinic B, um, if they when they clock in, it's going to default to clinic A. There is a way for both team members and managers to transfer time. I gave instructions in the emails that I sent out to all leaders earlier this week that goes over the step-by-step instructions for how both the team member and the manager can transfer time within UKG Dimensions. The main thing to remember here is it is cumbersome. So team members, if you are going to ask them to complete this process, we'll need some help. It'd be good to work with them on that and to double check the work that they're doing whenever they do complete these transfers. But what team members will need to do if they are doing the transfer themselves is when they're going to clock in to begin a shift or to begin a shift at a different location than their home base, they're going to use the add transfer functionality within the punch tile. That will bring up a window that will say add business structure. And the business structure essentially is the functionality that starts with Premier Health as a umbrella company. And then below Premier Health, we have a couple of different companies. We have Premier Health Clinical Group, which is just for out-of-state physicians. But we also have Premier Health Consultants. That's where most of our team members live. We also have one for Freedom, which again is only for a couple of physicians. So in most cases, you'll be using the Premier Health Consultants, and then it has layers below that. You know, your market, which market are you? Which clinic are you specifically clocking in and out? And so you'll work through that with them. Sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming, but I'm confident that once they and once you have gone through the process a couple of times, you'll see that it's pretty easy, and it also saves recent transfers. So it can also very much allow for people to get back in and quickly select which location they were transferring to. It is only temporary. As I mentioned, as we go to advanced scheduler, when you schedule people in UKG Dimensions to work at Clinic B, whenever they clock in, it will register that time as working at Clinic B. So it is temporary. Our focus is on getting advanced scheduler implemented as quick as possible after we successfully implement timekeeping, and we'll keep you up to date on that progress very quickly and regularly. Time off also very easy. It'll show the My Accrual tab, and team members will be able to see what their balance is. And they'll put in the number of hours and the start time of that shift or the days in which they're requesting off. They can request multiple days off at one time. And I'll share with you in a little bit. We'll go through the process of actually requesting time off using our sandbox. Just a few reminders. This is the same way that it works in Novatime. If you have a future request, if you're requesting time off in October, it's only going to allow you to request the hours that you actually have in your current balance, right? If you're requesting 80 hours, but you only have 20, it's not going to allow you to do that. So if the team member needs, if let's say they do have 60 hours, they requested 60 in November, but now they decided they need a week off now. It does require you to go back and adjust that other request that had been approved, just like you would do in Novatime. And so it will show your current balance as well as your available balance, which will show and take into account any future time off requests that you have that are approved. So if your current balance is 80 hours, but you have 40 hours approved for the week of Thanksgiving, your available balance is going to be 40. Always refer to Paylocity as your source of truth. UKG Dimensions and Novatime, for that matter, were never calculating what your accrual was. It's only sending feeds from Paylocity over to UKG Dimensions to update your PTO balance. We are able to migrate future requests that have already been approved in Novatime over to UKG Dimensions through the rest of the year. So that will allow you not to have to go back and have team members request that time off again. But ultimately, if team members haven't approved, or if you haven't approved a PTO request by August 26th, those aren't going to be carried over into the UKG Dimensions system. They'll need to be resubmitted through UKG Dimensions. Similar as well, though it's optional for team members to approve their time cards, it's a very helpful action that the team member's time card is accurate in advance of payroll processing. So we ask team members to review their time card by Monday of payroll week at 9 a.m. Review those, make sure that they are notifying their manager of any errors or discrepancies, so that managers can make sure they resolve all of those time card issues by noon on payroll Monday. So that is the best practice. That's what we want to get into the habit of, making sure we're done and our time cards are good and beautiful at noon. So I'll do a brief overview of the sandbox. Again, these will be pretty straightforward for you, but this is what the sandbox will look like. So you'll see a bunch of tasks over here, and these are the categories. So the ones we were just going over are these employee tasks here. So when you click on employee, you'll see that they have instructions on how to punch in. It'll give you a little scenario that Eliza wants to punch in using the punch tile and record a transfer while punching in. So in her case, and some of these may look slightly different than what we have, but I think it'll still be very helpful for you to see exactly how this works. So in this case, they have a type drop-down list. It's going to be a clock in or clock out. Ours will just have the punch. But once they click that, they can click submit, and you'll see that the punch was successfully submitted. Another one here I'll do real quick is the time off request. And so we wanted Eliza wants to request off on February 4th. And so it's going to give you the prompts up here. This is kind of your point and click reference guide. So in my time off, click advanced options, then click October 3rd, and then click September 4th. It highlights those, shows that right now I'm requesting both of those days off, but then I remembered I really only need September 4th. So I click September 3rd again, or I'm sorry, February 3rd. I've got next month on my mind. And so you see February 4th here, and then you're going to click apply. We don't have the full day, first half day, second half day options. We really just did it in terms of hours. So this example is very good as well. It's very user friendly. If you put in 7 here, it automatically populates with 7 a.m. You put in 3 here, you don't have to put any other characters in there. You click out, it's going to show 3 hours. Again, we don't have different PTO banks, so this will be voided. You won't need to select different PTO banks available. And but in this case, they need to select personal. Then you can review it. You can make sure, okay, February 4th, 2022, 7 a.m. start time. I need 3 hours off. And then I'm going to click submit. They'll let you know that your time has been submitted. You can click done. And then let's say a couple of days have passed and you get a notification here with this little bell icon. You click that and it's going to show you that your manager has approved your time off. It shows it right here. Approval status is approved, approved by Michael Martin. And so now that I know that that's been done, I can just mark it as done and it'll disappear from my control center. You can use the schedule option if you want to see, view my schedule. That's this, let's see where it's at, the view my schedule error. Oh, right here. Okay. So you can see on February 4th, it's got the PTO listed on her calendar as well. All of these other things you can disregard. We don't have the scheduling piece in place yet, so that won't be available at all. But really helpful resource. I'll let you, if you want to cancel a time off request, how you do that and all those good things. So a lot of good beneficial information in there, but I wanted to show you how it works. And then once we do a few more lessons, we'll also just walk through a couple of them for you. All right, so navigation. In this section, we'll go through navigating the home page and what's called data views. And after that, we'll do some hands-on practice. So let's say the manager, in this case, you would like to adjust layout of your home page. You want to make some adjustments to a data view you use to monitor overtime. And as well, you might want to add a chart to your home page so that you can keep an eye on different types of data you have access to. So this is what your homepage will look like. Not exactly like it, but you'll have these tiles. All of the manager tiles will be in here. There will be a little pin button down at the very bottom. That'll give you access to more or fewer tiles. If you want to hide some of these tiles or add some tiles, you can do that by just clicking that little pin arrow, and it'll allow you to, update, hide, add tiles as you wish. Make it more friendly for yourself. Your home page is the first thing you'll see. You can take action directly in a tile, so you can submit time off requests from the My Time Off tile. You can use the link within a tile to go to the source page for that tile. For example, you can select full schedule to go to the current schedule page. You can hide and show tiles. As I mentioned, you can clean those up as you wish. And you can also use the employee search feature up at the top that will allow you to quickly search for and access the time card of a specific employee. You can open the main menu, these horizontal bars here, to access time cards, data views, and reports through main menu. And you can return to the home page from any other page by selecting the home page icon there at the top. Data views are accessed in the data view library found in the data views and reports section of the main menu. So if you wanted to use data views to review, analyze, and act on really a vast amount of data, there are different actions that you can take here. So you can take an action on a selected subset of employees. For example, you can select several employees and then use the approval action to approve all their time cards. So you can do that all at once instead of doing them individually. You can also sort and filter a column. So you can filter to view only those employees with a specific primary job. If you wanted to look at only a particular type of job, you can also add a column or a calculation to a column. So if you wanted to look at the average number of hours of the team members this past week, you can look at that by just adding a calculation down at the bottom as well. And then you can also create a chart. A chart is like a graph, different ways to present information within the time cards within your workforce or your assigned group of employees. So we'll briefly go over charts. They can be viewed and created by selecting charts at the bottom of the data view, as you see right here. The data in the chart will come directly from that data view. So if you're filtering by a certain pay period or a month, it will populate data based on that, that data. You can use the chart to get a quick visual representation of the data of which you're most focused on. You can select the type of visualization, such as a pie chart or a line graph, and you can specify which metrics you want to display within that chart. I'll just briefly note in the sample here, they reference wage rate. Wage rate information isn't included in UKG dimensions. For timekeeping, this is a broader set of systems that UKG Dimensions has access to, but you can see a distribution of hours. You can look at different jobs and see how you're doing in terms of worked hours by job and similar exercises. So we'll go ahead and focus on doing one of these, just a quick navigating to the home page and a data view. So if I access again the sandbox, come back here to navigations and notifications, and I want to navigate the home page, it's going to just give me a few different prompts on how to access things. So what I like about the sandbox is you can't click over here. It's going to direct you just to what you have to click to move to the next item, right? So main menu icon, remember that is the horizontal bars up here. And it's going to give you some nice information. You know, you can edit your personal profile. You can also navigate to specific areas of the system. Click the X over here. If you want to scroll down to see other tiles, you can refresh tiles to display data or hide tiles to remove them. On the weekly hours by primary location tile, select the tile actions. Tile action menu displays options such as editing it or hiding that particular tile or making it full screen. And all you have to do is just click out of that. So that is the little vertical circles here, or vertical dots that you'll see. All right. On the Manage Time Cards tile, you'll also see the option to access all time cards at once. And so it'll give you different directions there. The other one we can look at really briefly is the navigating a data view. So he wants to use the basic summary data view to see information about employees. So again, we're going to go to main menu, data view and reports, and the data view library. It's going to give you a lot of different reports to choose from. And in this case, we want to look for the employee basic summary data view tile. These are different ways to view your information, your team members, right? So this can be a helpful sort of spreadsheet looking document for you to access and review. You know, we don't have badge numbers, so if you want to hide that, you can hide it. If you want to look at name, you can sort ascending. So maybe I want to look by last name. And in the weekly hours over here, maybe I want to calculate an average. It's going to show me what the average is now of weekly hours for this group of team members. In the primary location, select the drop-down list, so you can also look at it by clinic if you wish, or by department if you're over multiple clinics or department. And so you can group it and see quickly exactly all of your different groups by clinic or department, and you can expand to see how your team members are doing in each one of those. Once you complete an exercise, it'll let you know that. You can start it over again if you wish, or you can just exit it. All right, now we'll look at notifications. This will be an area where you can quickly access and look over, you know, updates, information that's pressing for you to be aware of. So alerts appear in the corner of all of your pages. It's the bell icon. So the bell icon will always be there for you. And when you select it, it opens the control panel, the control center panel. And with those alerts, you can view the number of notifications you have not reviewed or acted on. For example, in this screenshot, you can see that that Michael has notification that he's not yet handled. In addition, you can mark individual notifications as reviewed or that you've taken action on, so that once you've approved them, they're no longer showing up in your control center. So it's good to constantly maintain and making sure that you're getting the most relevant updates as you go along. And while the control center panel provides you with a quick view of the most immediate actions, the control center is also where you go to view notifications in greater detail or to look up notifications you've already handled in the past. So it's kind of a library of everything. From here, you can review notifications by category, such as timekeeping and my request. You can also filter the list of notifications. You can filter to see only notifications received in a certain date or a certain period of dates. You can also review details of the selected notification. You can review any comments or additional information that was submitted as part of a time off request, for example. And you can also take action on the selected notification. So when you select, you can also approve the time off request directly from the control center. So we'll look briefly at just a couple of those. Reviewing alerts in the control center panel. So in this case, Julio punched out early. Michael wants to access the control center slider to review the alert. Now, I'll briefly let you know, this is a function that would be something that would come in once we have advanced scheduler in place. So it's more of a preview of some of the added functionality you will get that will really allow you to better manage absenteeism, tardies, and things like that with some of the alerts and reports that you'll have. But this will help us to navigate directly through this system. So if you look at the notifications icon, you can open here, my notifications, and then you've also got the number indicates how many notifications require your action or acknowledgement. So this is your notifications icon up here, the bell. When you click that, it's going to allow you to look at different alerts that have come up. And so that'll help you to address any issues that you want to do. So if I want to go for Julio, that's who we were looking at a little bit earlier. So we can go to her time, Julio's time card. And on this case, in the right click on the Wednesday, October 5th, I can see that Julio clocked in late or sorry, left early. And I can mark it as reviewed if I want to say, okay, he talked to me about that. So I don't need to worry about that. I need to save the time card. And now you'll see after selecting mark as reviewed, the notification still appears. And I can do mark done. And it will disappear. All right. Yeah, I see Ali answer the question on or had that question answered on the time clock. So those are if you need the flyer, just let me know. I'll make sure to send it out again. All right, so the biggest focus is obviously on timekeeping. So we'll spend the rest of our time on that particular session. And so a few things that are important, adding and editing and deleting punches. So once you pull up an employee's time card, you can add a missing punch by selecting the cell and entering the applicable time. So for example, if one of your team members forgets to punch out and calls you to ask you to add it, you can add that missing punch. In addition, you can edit an existing punch by selecting the cell and making the applicable edits. And when you edit a punch, a black triangle will appear in the cell to indicate an edit was made, so you can then see that it's a punch that you edited yourself. And then you can also delete a row of data from the time card if you went to add something and it was incorrect, or if a team member got sometimes they get their clock ins and outs all mixed up. You can delete a row of data using the trash can icon there. And then you can also delete a single punch by selecting that punch and pressing delete on your keyboard. So if a team member punched out by mistake, you can just delete that out punch. It is recommended that anytime you edit a time card, you add a comment in the cell that contains the edit for record keeping purposes. And you can also add comments to exceptions and punches if appropriate. Comments can also be edited or deleted. So it's giving you the option here to add a comment and give a little bit of information around why the person left early or why they came in late. Editing and deleting pay codes. Again, here the manager can add a pay code to establish a different pay type for work or non-worked hours. And so pay codes can't be added to a row with punches if both are needed on the same day. Add a row for that day to enter the pay code information. So if PTO needs to be added or if orientation needs to be added, you can add it over here to the right. You can see to add a total number of hours, so that is reflected on the time card. You'll have a drop-down list. All of those pay codes that you currently have access to in NovaTime have the same drop down, they're the same labels and everything like that that you will see in UKG dimensions. Exceptions, as I mentioned, that's kind of the common term that we use in UKG dimensions. It's any deviation from for the employee. Right now, we're mainly there talking about missed punches, but as we bring in the schedule component into UKG dimensions in a few weeks or a couple of months, the employee also you'll get exceptions when a team member is say scheduled to work 8 to 8, but they left at 7:30 p.m. An exception is generated, and so that allows you to review quickly and address, review those, see if any actions are needed on your part. So again, here you can see a missed punch exception. Again, that's going to be our most important one that we're dealing with right now. Very easy to address those with big red boxes on them within the time card. Managing time off. You can see that you'll also be able to review those through the control center, and you can mark them as approved or you can refuse up here at the top, edit as well, or cancel if the team member has decided that they don't actually need that time off. So it makes it very easy for you to review those directly through the control center in your duties as a manager. Transferring hours, as you can see, if the team member is not using the punch function to go in and transfer their hours to a non-home based clinic, you can do it right here with the transfer column. It's a very similar process if you ever used it within NovaTime. I know some of our leaders have had experience with that. So once you click that drop down for the row of data that you want to transfer, you're going to get a search function, and then it's going to bring you through the nesting of Premier Health to Premier Health Consultants to, Hendrick Urgent Care to the specific clinic that you want to transfer that time to. So it can, once you do it a few times, you'll find that it's a little bit easier to do. But again, review the specific instructions that I sent. I gave screenshots for every single decision that you have to make, so that you hopefully make this a successful process. But it is something that needs to be reviewed on a very regular basis. I don't recommend waiting until the end of the pay period, especially if you have daily transfers that need to be completed. There's a lot of great reports that you'll find. The time detail report is a great one in which you'll be able to see each one of your team members and all of their shifts. that they've worked within a particular pay period. Access to the through the report library helps you to see all the reports that are available to you as well. And finally, as I mentioned, the key is once you have those time cards accurate, you have the transfers that you need to load, you've managed all your exceptions and created these accurate time cards. You approve the time on payroll Monday by noon. You can do that through an individual process, approving them one at a time, or you can approve for a group of employees using the data view option. So we'll go over a few of those tasks in the sandbox so that you can see a little bit of both. So under timekeeping, I want to approve multiple time cards since we were just talking about that. So if you know that you've worked through all your time cards and you want to just approve them all at one time, you again are going to go to data views and reports and data library. Pay period close is really what we call that task of finishing a pay period, right? Going back and seeing the last pay period. Notice that you can filter current pay period, last pay period, that sort of thing. It's going to always default to current pay period. So if you're on payroll Monday, you'd have to go to last pay period. But let's say all these hours here are good. I feel good about everything. I've checked everyone's time cards. I'm going to click select all. It's going to highlight all of those for me. And then I'm going to click on approve, approval, and approve time card. And yes. Refresh is right up here. It's a little circular icon. If I scroll to the right, you'll see, I know it forwarded quite a little bit there, but it showed in one of the columns that I'd approved and signed off on all of those time cards. And so that's what you were looking for confirmation there. Let's do punches and comments to an employee's time card. So adding a missed punch. So in the must fix, right here, I know that I have some issues that I need to get to. So I'm going to click that arrow. You can always change the person through the drop down right over here. This is where you'll see all of your employees. But in this case, it's asking me to go to the totals add-on. This is an area where you can see the kind of a roll up of your team members' hours for the pay period. So you can see how many hours this person has right now. It's 32 hours, right? Obviously 131, they're missing a time. So I'm going to put 6:30 p. That's what time he left. Then I'm going to click outside. You can see the little black arrow triangle there in the top right. That's going to let me know that I edited that punch or that space in the time card. Click save. If I right click right here, you can see the punch actions. I can comment. I can select a different kind of reason why the person may have missed that punch. I can select missed punch. Just note that Alex forgot to punch and click apply. You'll notice now there's a little comment. That's the comment box icon to let you know that you made a comment on that edit. Click save again. Now when I go to totals, you'll see there's 40 hours loaded here. So now I know that time that we added has been updated. All right. So a summary of our next steps and what we went over today. Within UKG, you'll be able to navigate the homepage and data views, manage your timekeeping responsibilities. On the scheduling piece, mainly what we're referring to here is being able to review and approve time off request, and also preparing your time cards for payroll to make sure that they're accurate. A few key responsibilities to remind you of: ensure that all team members that are working, especially over this upcoming weekend beginning on Sunday, that they're all aware of and understanding of the transition in Novatime from Novatime to UKG Dimensions that begins on August 27th. Make sure they're not using the Novatime kiosks or time clocks anymore after August 26th. I shared a list of those, or the sandbox that we were just going over. Review those activities, refer to them. It's a great reference guide for remembering if you forget, how do I approve time cards, or how do I review a person's time off request? You can always use that sandbox and that list of activities to ensure you're aware of all of those important functions. Manage any transfers of time very frequently to make sure you're not working behind the 8 ball there. Whenever team members who aren't working at their home base, to make sure that they have the correct location recorded for their punches. And also, if you have team members, we haven't really had to do it a lot lately, but because if you had a team member who you hired for Clinic A, but they've really been working more at Clinic B, maybe you hadn't really felt it necessary to go into Paylocity and make a transfer for that team member. But if they're working more at Clinic B, go ahead and make that transfer into Paylocity, so that most of the time when they're clocking in and out, it's defaulting to the clinic where they are at most of the time. So that's another good task or action to take, just to make sure you're handling up on your duties in the management arena. All right, that is the slide deck. I appreciate your time. I know that we had a couple of questions, but are there anything else that we can address for you? Any other questions? I see a couple that have come up. Definitely, if you have issues with any of the pay code, like what they mean, what they stand for, we can certainly help you with that. And so definitely address those with you, Courtney, just to make sure you're coding everything properly and how to do it. All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, I appreciate your time. Like I said, I will follow up with that email. If there's anything else that I need to send, I certainly will. Team members will get some updates tomorrow to remind them of the transition. And if any questions come up along the way, just let me know. We'll be here to help, and happy to make this a successful transition. Hope you have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.